All right. Hello, everyone. This is Beth Barker, the nurse educator for the Ohio AAP. I'm going to take you through the process today of actually completing all of the required online paperwork for your MOBI and TIES programs. So let me go ahead and pull up PowerPoint here just very quickly. So there's some program forms that you are going to complete prior to actually going out and performing the session with whoever you're scheduling with. The first one is the program planner. This has to be completed for all of your programs. It tells the Ohio AAP what you need for your MOBI or TIES education session. And this is used to pack your box of supplies. So we need this information in order for you to receive all of your packets and your other resources. If you have a program that is less than 2 weeks away, please contact Lori Winland. Her email address is here, just to make sure that your supplies are sent quickly. The next form that you complete prior to actually doing the program is your best practices form. Now this helps you get some insight into that practice's immunization policies, and then is used by Ohio AAP to collect data related to the program itself. So as part of the grant process, we try to gather information on all of the practices that we go out and do MOBI and TIES for. After your program, you will complete another 2 forms. The first one is the trainer feedback form, and that must be completed for reimbursement from Ohio Department of Health. So let me say that again. You must complete the trainer feedback form in order to get the appropriate reimbursement. If you have multiple practices attending one session, you have to complete a trainer feedback form for each practice for appropriate reimbursement. There is a statement, it's available in the trainer portal, it is also in your manual, about scheduling multiple practices attending one session. We realize that sometimes this may need to happen, but this is not the ideal way to perform MOBI and TIES programming, so just keep that in mind. One little thing that we have changed, and this is in line with the IQIP process, is that you must submit your trainer feedback form within 5 days of completing the program. We need that completed, and then you need to send in your pre-post surveys, the originals, along with your sign-in sheets. Please do not forget to enter information on the top bar of the sign-in sheets. We have had some situations where we have sign-in sheets returned to us with absolutely no information on them. Therefore, we're unable to tell what program, when this was, or who it belongs to. So make sure all of that information is there so that we can make sure it's properly recorded. The last program form is the 1 to 2 month survey. So it used to just say 1 month survey. So we're giving a little bit of leeway because we know there's a lot of things that you're trying to do. I'm there with you guys. And if you're doing IQIP processes, your follow-up's at about 2 months for that. So we can kind of marry that together a little bit so you're not trying to make all of these separate calls. The questions on there are simply best practice type questions, and that's just to compare any changes that may have occurred since the program that you completed. Again, MOBI TIES sign-in sheets and pre-post surveys need to be returned to the office. Each of your boxes will have a white envelope included. You will simply need to put your return address there. We have already labeled it with our address, and then send that back to us. So again, your trainer feedback form must be completed within 5 days of the program that you've done. And these forms has to be sent back to the office. We do need to keep that on file. What else do I want to say about that? Again, if you have multiple practices in attendance at one session and reimbursement is sought for each practice, you should have a sign-in sheet prepared for each location or office, and they should sign accordingly, and pre-post surveys should be sorted accordingly. We have added to the pre-post survey a location where they can put in their office name or practice name. I've done that several times. You don't need to have their names on there. You just want them to put their location so that you can appropriately assign each of the pre-post surveys to the right sign-in sheet. If you do have any questions, always feel free to reach out to Lori or myself. And we're going to go here. We're going to kind of walk through a pretend I'm going through the process of doing this program, completing the forms online. You want to bookmark www.ohioaap.org. And you want to make sure that you log in every time prior to entering or editing forms. I have had some instances where trainers were entering but didn't sign in, and somehow the form went in, but it's not showing in their list. So we can see it, but let's say you sign in and you don't see it in your list. So just make sure every time prior to entering or editing your forms, you are logging in. Trainers cannot delete any forms. So if you need to delete a form for whatever reason, please email Lori and she can help you get that done. All right, so we are going to move through and we're going to get onto the website here. So this is ohioaap.org's main page. Now I'm just showing you where you need to go to make sure you bookmark. So go over and hover over child health topics. Go down to immunizations, hover over that, and then you will see maximizing office-based immunizations and teen immunization sessions. Please click on that. Once you click, you're going to go to the main page for MOBI and ties, and you're just going to scroll down, and I'm scrolling slowly as to not make you ill when you're watching this video. And once you get down here, you'll see a lot of blue. Anything that's blue, you can actually click on. It's a link, but we're going to focus in on the trainer portal because this is where you need to enter your forms. So you want to click on the trainer portal, and it's going to take you to this login page. You're going to want to enter your username. That is going to be your email address and your password. It should be MOBI ties, all one word, all lowercase. If you've changed your password somehow, then obviously that is not going to be the password. But we try to set this up for everybody that way so that if you do have an issue, we can easily get in and help you. So MOBI ties, all one word, all lowercase. Please keep in mind, we also have in your manual written instructions on how to do this, and it also tells you what your username and password will be. Then you're going to want to click Login. And a lot of times mine will come up to this. If you're not automatically redirected, click here. I usually have to click here. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And now we are entered into the actual trainer forms area. What you're going to notice here is you have your list of 2019 completed forms. So these are forms you've already entered. Then you're going to have the list of start a new form for 2019. And that's kind of what we're going to do today. We also have started areas for 2020 completed forms and 2020 start a new form, because obviously we are almost at Thanksgiving and we are going to be scheduling things into January, February, and March. So if you are scheduling for 2020, make sure that you're using the 2020 forms and not the 2019 forms. So let's go ahead and review. We're going to pretend like I am scheduling with a practice, and the first thing I want to do is complete their program planner. I will just let you know generally what I do when I'm working with a practice to get them scheduled. If I have them on the phone, I will get my forms that I need to complete up and ready to go. So I would go back here and also click on my 2019 best practices survey. So now I have that up. And then if I go over here to the first form, I still have my program planner up. And we're going to say we're scheduling a MOBI. If you are scheduling a ties or they are doing both, you do need to complete a program planner for their MOBI and you need a program planner for their ties. In order to switch, it's just a drop-down menu. So go ahead and click on MOBI. Then we're going to click into the next box. This is going to populate up a calendar. Obviously, just choose the appropriate date. I'm just going to say this is going to be on the 27th. If you scroll down, you're going to select your department or organization. All of the trainer health departments should be listed here, Please make sure you choose the appropriate one, because this is, again, making sure that you are getting credit for that. So I'm obviously going to choose Ohio AAP, but if we were talking about Cincinnati, make sure you choose the right one. You guys have two. If it was Columbiana, make sure you've chosen that. So I'm choosing Ohio AAP. Then we're going to go into trainer name. You are simply typing in your name. And then we're going to go to your email. Again, you are just typing in your email address. And then I have this practice on the line, and I'm going to say, do we have an estimation of the number of attendees? A lot of times I don't know for sure, so I just try to get a rough estimate, and we're just going to say they told me 10. And then this tells you, or tells us how many packets you actually need. I will tell you on average, I will pack a couple more than what they say that they need, because I have run into situations where people have more in attendance than what we originally expected. So I'll put 12. Then we're going to put the site name. We're just going to say this is ABC Pediatrics. And then you're going to put their VFC or assigned number. Now, we do have a listing for assigned numbers in your manual. This stems from the old AFIX program, and it's a listing by county. If you want to use that as your continuation of assigning somebody a number, if they are not VFC, feel free to do so. However, if they are VFC, you do need their VFC number. So that is something that's requested by the Ohio Department of Health in order for us to do this. So we want to make sure we get that. Most people that I deal with will be able to tell you what it is or get it rather quickly. Sometimes they have to email me back. And if that's the case, I just put a placeholder in there. It's generally a number that starts with a 2 and it's 5 digits. So I'm just going to say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be their VFC number for pretend ABC Pediatrics. Your assigned number can either be used from that old AFIX form, or as we have learned now, since we're not doing AFIX, you can assign a number yourself. You just need to make sure you're keeping a track of your assigned numbers that you're using. Only use the assigned number if the practice is not VFC. If they are VFC, we will need their VFC number. The next item is multiple practices attending. So we're going to pretend like, yes, this is a multiple practice situation. So you're going to want to click yes. Then what you're going to want to do is list the additional practices or locations that they have that are attending. So we're going to say that 123 Pediatrics is an affiliate of theirs. And we are also going to want to put that VFC number here. So I usually just put a number sign and then we put 25555. Okay, so that is their VFC number. This may be somebody's in real life. I'm just pretending. So there's only 2 locations attending, but if you had more, you want to list them here. So make sure that you do that. I just go down the list and enter the next location, so on and so forth. Again, we want to try as much as possible to not do multi-practice attendances at one session, but sometimes you're dealing with somebody who's higher up and this is the only way that they are willing to complete the program. Then you're going to want to come down here and enter your site address. So this is 123 Main Street. The city, we'll just say is Cleveland. Zip code, again, put in the appropriate zip code. I'm making this up. County is Cuyahoga. The contact name is Susie Stone. Enter your phone number. We'll just say 216-777-7777. Again, I'm making it up, but you're getting that information from this practice. And then Susie's email address. And I messed it up, so if you do, even though it's pretend, that's what we're using. So there we have that information. Pretty simple. Just make sure you're asking of them what that information should be. The next section is where you're going to choose the additional 1 or 2 MOBI modules that the practice would like to participate in. Now, what I will generally do is give them a brief overview if I'm talking to them on the phone about what these are. And if a lot of times they might say, yeah, we want to do this. I will tell you, I generally only have time for 1 additional module. So I let them choose. If they don't know, we literally have a space that says, I don't know yet. And then sometimes I've had people say, can you email me that information? And then their team will kind of select which one they think will be most beneficial for them. I will say more often than not, I just go over with it on the phone and they choose one. And then if we aren't sure, I just go ahead and choose don't know yet, because you can always make that choice once you get to the practice. The next thing is, what do you want in your box? Please make sure that you're utilizing this, because in addition, we know you're getting packets, you've told us how much you need, but in addition, we also want to know what you need in the amount of resources that we send out. So this practice is going to get a pink book, they're going to get the vaccines for your child, they want some parental refusal brochures. We also have the DTaP reminder postcards. Again, those are stamped and they have adhesive little circles to make it HIPAA compliant. If people want those, they can have those. We have the DTaP drop-off toolkit, because we know the 4th dose of DTaP is forgotten quite a bit, and this is just helpful for the practice. And then if you already have some things, or this practice you go to all the time and they have the most recent pink book and you don't need any of these items, just click no resources needed at this time. The next question is talking about unique patients. So we just added this year, and it's so we can get a little bit more information related to population level health. And what we're asking is, how many patients does this practice have that are ages 0 to 24 months? The reason why I put the word unique in there is because sometimes people have patients listed multiple times under different ID numbers, and we don't want to count them multiple times. They're not unique people. So usually what I just say to the practice is, we really just need to know how many patients are in your practice of this age range. A lot of times they'll have to get back with me with this information, and that's okay. We have not made it a requirement as of yet. Only thing that are required have the red asterisks, just like this over in what you want in your box. And if they can't get that information, then they can't get it. But a lot of times people will have to get that information to me later. The next thing is there anything else extra you would like in your box? Like, for example, if we were doing a ties, and normally with a ties, a pink book does not come with that. If you're just doing a ties, but they also want a pink book, you want to go ahead and indicate that in here. The next question is also another one related to population health, and it's what percentage of your patient population is Medicaid? And we're just looking for a percentage number. So 30%, 60%, whatever they tell you, that's what you're going to want to put in there. And then the last thing is any additional notes. These can be notes for you. They could be notes for us, letting us know you need something or what you're doing. This is where you're going to put that information. Once we have all of these items entered, you can click submit. We'll take it a few seconds. And it tells you your form was successfully submitted. So, and you will get an email. I've gotten my emails up here. I'm not going to double check it right now. I'm just going to close out this particular window. And then I'm still on the phone with this practice. So we're going to go into our best practices form. We are only working on MOBI, but if you were doing a ties or just a ties, you'd want to switch and toggle to ties at this drop-down menu. Again, put your name in here as the trainer, your email address, the site name, their VFC number, and the date of your planned program. It'll automatically come up with that calendar. And then we want to go through these. So is this practice having an IQIP measurement? You're a yes, no, or they've had one in the past year. That simply means you're not going to be doing another one right away. So we're going to say, for the sake of having this pop up, yes. And then it's going to ask you, well, what date do you have that planned for? And I'm just going to say we have it planned for the same day. The next is your VFC provider. Is this practice one? Well, if they have a VFC number, we know that they're a VFC provider. So we're going to go ahead and click yes, because we know this practice is. You can either choose no, they are not, or you can choose I don't know. The next question is, does the practice provide a current vaccine information statement to parents prior to an immunization? Anything with a red asterisk is a required item, just like the other form. So you can tell them these are your kind of responses, and I usually just go, Is it almost always, frequently, sometimes, rarely, never, or you don't know? Sometimes I am talking to somebody that literally doesn't know, so I do have that occasionally, but most of the time, whoever you're talking to does know. We're going to say they almost always do. And does the practice have a written plan for protecting vaccines in case of a power outage? Almost always the answer to this is yes, in my case. If it's no, you're going to see this come up. If there is a no, reinforce sample emergency plans in your presentation. This is something that you can do related to kind of potential QI. And then if you don't know, we're going to put don't know. And again, this will pop up. So I'm going to leave it as a yes. Does the practice use ImpactSys Registry to look up immunizations? You either say yes, no but wants to start, or don't know. Most of the time I get a yes. Then this is going to come up in an additional question. What features of ImpactSys do they use? And I just go through them. So look up past immunizations, enter vaccines as given, enter historical shots. Most people will tell me they do all of those things. Number 6, does the practice check vaccine status at every office visit? Again, you can go through what their options are, and we're going to say this office does that frequently. Does the practice have materials available to address vaccine concerns? Again, we're going to say, oh, well, they do that sometimes. When you choose something other than almost always or frequently, and you're choosing sometimes, it's going to highlight to you that you may want to consider including vaccine hesitancy in your presentation. Vaccine hesitancy is an additional module that could be of potential use for this practice if they're saying they don't always have materials available. And then we're going to go into best practices for increasing vaccine rates. So, does your practice use an immunization reminder system for every patient? Again, they're going to choose. So we're going to say, and I get this a lot, never. Does the practice use an immunization recall system for the patient? We're going to say never. The key here is specific to immunizations. They may say that we do it for our well care, but we don't specifically do it for immunizations. Does the practice have someone they consider a go-to person for vaccine questions? A lot of times they will tell me yes. If it's yes, additional pop-up window is going to come up and it's going to ask you, and you're going to ask them, well, who is that and what's their name? And we're just going to say the person we're talking to, which a lot of times it is the go-to person. 11, does the practice give all vaccines that are due regardless of the number of injections? So they're going to tell you almost always, frequently, sometimes. We're going to say sometimes. Does the practice allow shots to be given to children with minor illnesses like colds, diarrhea, or low-grade fever? We're going to say frequently. Does the practice allow patients to come in for immunization-only nurse visits? And we're going to say rarely. A lot of times this is the case for FQHCs, is that they don't allow nurse-only visits, and this is related to some sort of billing purposes. 14, does the practice give age-appropriate vaccines even when no vaccine record is available? We're going to say almost always. And 15, does the practice use combination vaccines? Pretty much almost everyone's going to say they do, and almost always they will. 16, is the practice working on any sort of quality improvement project or IQIP strategy that would be helpful for me to know? This is just really for you. Is there something they're doing that's helpful for you to know? You're either going to click yes or no. This practice just said no. If there was something that they were doing, this box is helpful to put a few notes in, especially if you're going to try to get them to do an IQIP. 17, does the practice have any other specific vaccine-related issues they'd like you to address? This, again, is helpful to see if there's anything else going on in that practice. I've had situations where there have been administration errors that they wanted me to focus in on the importance of giving the appropriate vaccine to the appropriately aged person. So this is notes for you as the trainer. And then additional notes for your presentation, whatever else you would like to kind of remind yourself of. And then we're going to scroll on down and we're going to hit submit. Again, it's telling you that my form was successfully submitted, and we can go ahead and exit out of this window. I still have my original window up, which is my trainer forms. And what I can do is go over here now and look at my completed program planners. And look at that. My very first one listed here is a program planner for ABC Pediatrics, which is the fake practice we've been working on. I can toggle back to that main window again, and I can go ahead and click on best practices just to verify that now this best practice form is there. Now, you do have the ability to edit your forms. So if we go into our program planner and let's say we need to edit this because they added more people. So we need to add more attendee packets. If that's the case, simply scroll down, and again, I'm scrolling kind of slow on purpose just so it doesn't make you ill. You're gonna go into edit. It's very small, but it's down here at the left-hand bottom corner. This takes you back into your form, and you are able to edit what you need to edit. So again, they're gonna tell me we've actually boosted the number. We've got 15 attendees now. So I'm just gonna say, okay, I'm gonna get 16 packets. So I'm gonna adjust all of that. And then I'm gonna scroll back down all the way, and I'm gonna click update. When you update a form, you will receive an email as long as you've entered your email address correctly, and Ohio AAP will receive that email update. We've completed it. It says the form was saved, so I can actually exit out of this. You can do that for any of these forms that you need to update or change. For example, if they give you information on those population health questions, you can go ahead and update that information. You can go back in and edit your form. What you cannot do is delete a form. So if there's a situation where somebody absolutely is not going to reschedule a program or decides not to have you out at all, and we want to delete those program planner and best practice survey, you'll need to reach out to Lori to make sure those forms are deleted. If we go ahead and scroll down here, we are going to pretend like, oh, I did want to back up just 1 second. If you do have a ties in your best practice survey, it does change the questions just a tad, but it's still very relevant to what you're doing. So just keep that in mind. The only thing it changes is it's obviously not specific to the childhood vaccinations. So just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to pretend like this practice, I've already been there and I completed that training. So now I want to go in and complete my trainer feedback form. Please remember, you must complete this form within 5 days of the program. Additionally, you must send in your sign-in sheets. Those sign-in sheets should be relegated if you have multiple practices attending or multiple locations, like I do here with these 2 fake practices. You should have a sign-in sheet for each location, and those pre-post surveys should be assigned accordingly. We also have updated the pre-post survey to include a practice name so that you can do that without having the person's name. So we did our MOBI program. If you needed to change the ties, you can change the ties. If you completed both a MOBI and ties, which I do a lot on the same day, you do need to do a trainer feedback form for MOBI for that practice and a trainer feedback form for the ties for that practice. If we were doing both for this practice, we would want to also make sure we had a program planner for both, because we only know what you send us. So if you only did a MOBI program planner, we don't know that you're also doing a ties, and we wouldn't send out a box. So as we move through here, again, it's very similar questions. We're going to toggle over here and we're going to choose appropriate health department. Usually, if I just don't like scrolling through, if you hit the first name or first letter, it takes me right to Ohio chapter. That's where I want to go. You can tab through this form or you can use your mouse, whatever's easier, and that goes for any of these forms. Again, entering the email, the site name, their VFC number, the presentation date. If you happen to go to this practice frequently and you have this information, that is great. You can enter their previous MOBI or ties date here. I'm going to say I don't have it. The presentation county. Oh, you know, they say you have this many, and when you get there, that number might change. So look at your sign-in sheet. How many attendees did we actually have? Now, if you are doing multiple locations at one session, you will want to make sure that you count, like for ABC, they're going to have so many attendees. And then because they had their other location attend, I'm going to have to fill out another trainer feedback form and put the number of attendees from that location here. So we're going to say that ABC Pediatrics had 6. Now, physician-wise, you should be able to tell because they should be entering their physician information on the sign-in sheet. Also, a lot of times you'll be able to tell because they'll kind of point themselves out. We're going to say that there were 0 physicians and 6 others. That is generally what happens to me. I don't get a whole lot of providers there, but just an FYI, if you do, you want to put in, okay, if I had 2 physicians and the total number was 6, I have 4 others. Did you perform an AFIX or IQIP assessment prior to the MOBI or TIES program? If you choose yes that you did, it's going to give you, well, what date was that? And we're going to say we did it on the same date. If you choose no, you're not going to get that box. But what's going to happen is you're going to get, if no, is one planned at a later date. So are you working on it? If you have it planned, you're going to click yes, and you'll put in a date. If it's a no, it's going to ask you for a reason for no planned IQIP. And if you say maybe, and sometimes that's the case, we're not quite sure yet, there's no additional item that you need to type into on that or choosing a date or anything. So we're going to say yes, because we did do this at this particular practice. Now, if you had any additional comments or anything you needed to kind of put in about this practice, you can put that here. I rarely do. So we're going to go ahead and hit submit. And again, it's successfully submitted. So I can actually exit out of this particular tab. Now, remember, I had another location of this practice attending. So you have to enter a trainer feedback form for that location as well. This is tied to your reimbursement and it makes sure that you get the appropriate level of reimbursement. So again, it's a MOBI. We're going to be typing this quite a lot with our names and emails on all these forms. And then this was 123 Pediatrics. And then we're going to put in there, which I can't remember, but I'm going to guess that's what I put. I don't remember. And then what date it was. If they've had a previous, we would put that in there. Again, the county's going to be the same. And then we're going to say, okay, well, how many attendees were on the sign-in sheet for this location? We're going to say 5. We're going to say 1 was a physician. So how many others? Obviously, that would be 4. Did you do an AFIX or an IQIP? We're going to say yes. I can actually probably change this language and I'll do that. We're just doing IQIPs now. And we did it on the same day. That's a rarity, guys. I haven't done both these on the same day yet, just an FYI. Additional comments, if I had those, I'd put them here, and then we're going to click submit. Not to beat a dead horse, but you must enter a trainer feedback form for each location that's attending one session. This is tied to your reimbursement. All right, I can exit out of there. If I wanted to double check that these were entered, go in here to my completed forms, and you can see there was one for ABC Pediatrics, and there was also one for that other location, 123 Pediatrics. If you ever needed to change these, you can click in this, and you can go down here and click edit if there's something you misentered, whatever that might be. All right, so then we're going to say it's 1 to 2 months later, and we're going to follow up with this practice. Pretty self-explanatory again. We are following up on the MOBI. Who's filling out the form? Every now and again, I do have MOBI and TIES or the practice staff fill it out. Like I'll send a copy of it because I can't get somebody on the phone, but they'll fill it out and fax it or email it back. Just an FYI, you can also do that with your best practices form. There is a paper copy available in the trainer portal or in your manual. And sometimes you can't get people on the phone long enough to do that, but if you send it to them, they will complete it manually and then send it back to you and you can enter it from that. So we're gonna say I'm doing this, we're talking to them. Surprise, surprise, we need to put our name in and our email address. Their site name, presentation date, date that we're doing the follow-up. So again, this is gonna be 1 to 2 months. You're not gonna have to actually move this forward, but we're gonna say we're doing the follow-up on the 27th. Name and title of the person who you're talking to. Hopefully it's the same person, but let me tell you, I have had situations where that person is already, left the practice and you do what you have to do. Did the person attend the presentation? Yes, this person did. And then you're going to simply go through these questions. Remember what I said, it is the same as our best practices. And this is to indicate to us as to whether their practices or how they handle things have changed. So you would simply go through each of these questions again with them, find out if their answers are different. And again, this is important to us for measurable data. This is why we do these forms. We need this data and this information. So it's not, just to give you something else to do. It helps us to figure out what these practices are doing, what they're not doing, and how, as trainers and also as Ohio AAP, how we can be of help to them. A couple of different things that are here is TIES training. Did they utilize the team advocating for vaccine resources? That is here if you're doing TIES. Is there anything else MOBI and TIES office could do to improve these resources? That's helpful to us. And then any vaccine obstacles, what's their biggest obstacle? So this would be the bigger changes from the regular best practices. So I just go through it with them. Is there something here? Sometimes they tell you, I don't know. And I've even had people tell me other, and they give me their comments and I type those comments in here. All very helpful feedback for when we plan and we do these programs. All right, so I'm not going to go all the way through this and submit, but if you did, you would go all the way through and do the same thing, which is submit. Now, when you, since this practice had the multiple practices, you'd want to do a 1 to 2 month follow-up form for each, but just keep in mind that the 1 to 2 month follow-up form is probably going to be the same for the other locations. So I'm not saying you have to ask them the questions twice. All right, so we went through how to do all of these forms. We also went through how you can go back into your completed forms and edit. We also went through that you cannot delete forms. You need to contact Lori Winland to delete any forms. That pretty much kind of sums up what we need to do. These are all the forms. We have our 2020 forms here as well. As you continue to scroll on this main trainer portal, you have your MOBI and TIES resources here. Anything in blue you can click on and that's a link. You have your Whales Tales newsletter, you have the Pink Book online version, and you have different resource areas that you can go to should you need any additional help or information. If at any time you are not sure about something or aren't sure if forms went through appropriately, please contact us. Make sure that you are entering forms timely, and we hope that this was helpful to you in some way. Hope you all have a good day. Let us know if you need anything else from us.